Namaskar from Menka Sharma to all of you. Today we will be discussing topic strategic evaluation and control from business policy and strategic management. By end of this lecture, you will be familiar with the concept of strategic evaluation and control. Also, you will be able to understand the process of strategic control along with its types. So let's begin with. Let's see the definition of strategic evaluation. Strategic evaluation is defined as the process of determining the effectiveness of a given strategy in achieving the organizational objectives and taking corrective action wherever required. Strategic evaluation, it is the final step of strategic management process. Evaluation makes sure that organization strategy as well as its implementation meets the organizational objectives. The key strategic evaluation activities are appraising internal and external factors that are the root of present strategies. Strategic control involves tracking a strategy as it's been implemented. So it's concerned with detecting problems or changes in strategy and making the necessary adjustments. So we can say strategic evaluation and control therefore performs the crucial task of keeping the organization on the right track. Now let's come to the strategic control process. We'll see which steps are involved or what is the procedure while implementing or taking the strategic control into process. So the basic control process involves these steps as shown in the figure. At very first step, we'll establish standards and targets. Then we'll move to create measuring and monitoring systems. The next step is comparison of actual performances against the established targets. And at last, we'll evaluate the result and take the corrective actions if it does not meet the organizational goals or does not meet the objective of the control process. So we'll discuss all these steps one by one in detail in the next upcoming slides. Now coming to the first step which we'll discuss in detail, it is establishment of standards. Since every function in organization begins with plans which are goals, objectives or targets to be achieved. So while establishing standards, it is important to identify clearly and precisely the results which are desired. Keeping in mind the desired outcome, these standards are established. They can be quantitative as well as qualitative. Now, here are some examples of standards which we will be discussing one by one. The first example is profitability standard. These standards indicate how much a company would like to make as profit over a given period of time. So we can say return of investment can be used as profitability standard for a company. The second example is market position standard. These standards indicate the total share of sales in particular market that company would like to have in relation with its competitor. So it's very important nowadays. Now the next standard is productivity standard. So it is related with the production and focus. Next example is product leadership standards. These standards indicate what must be done to attain such a position. Now employee attitude standard. These standards indicate what types of attitude the company managers should strive to indicate in the company's employees. And The last is social responsibility standard, such as how much contribution you are making to the society. So, we'll now come to the next step of strategic evaluation and control process, that is measurement of performance. The measurement of performance involves the measuring of performance in respect of work in terms of control standards. The measurement of performance should be on such basis so that deviation can be detected in advance and avoided by the appropriate action. If we use the physical and monetary terms like sales volume, profits for expressing the standards and methods of measurement of performance, the measurement becomes easier. The measurement of tangible and intangible both performance can be done, and it should be clear, simple and rational. Also, it should be relevant and reliable. So, we can say that the methods used should be in context of the present scenario. It should not be very old or not be very advanced. So, the degree of difficulty in measuring the various types of organizational performance is determined primarily by the activity being measured. So, here we can say that the different departments, they are performing different types of activities, and so the measurement of performance will also be different. Like we can say that if a person is working in marketing, the measurement of performance will be based on the criteria like the daily sales report, the daily expense report and the daily visiting profile, so that there is easiness in measuring the performances that can be compared with the actual set standards. Nowadays, or the reporting and communication system, these are the major systems which help in measuring the performance, also recording the performance. If appropriate means are available for measuring the performance, and if these standards are set in right manner, the strategic evaluation becomes easier. So, we can say, or we see that this step is very much important in all the process of strategic management and evaluation process, as it provides the actual performance which is done. Now, coming to the last step, that is taking corrective actions. This is the last step in control process, which requires that action should be taken to maintain the desired degree of control in the system or operation. The correction of deviation is the step in management and control process which may either involve all or some of the managerial functions. So, this corrective actions focuses on correcting organizational mistakes that hinder the organizational performance. If there is any sort of problem, it can be seen in this action, and we can take a corrective method so that it can be helpful in doing all the strategic management process in easy way. Let's discuss levels of strategic control. The level of strategic control is 4-level control. The first one is corporate level, the second one is divisional level, the third one is functional level, and the last one is first level manager. Now, we will be discussing types of strategic control. We will be discussing 4 types of strategic control, that is premise control, special alert control, implementation control and strategic surveillance. So, we will be discussing the premise control at very first step. The premise control is the business activity chosen which is based on some assumptions. We can say that every strategy is based on certain planning premises or predictions. The premise control is designed to check methodologically and constantly whether the premises on which a strategy is grounded on are still valid or not. The business activity chosen is based on some assumptions what we believed would happen in several years in future. Whether these assumptions are about your competitors, consumers, this premise control lets the testing of assumption for validity. We can take an example like if you have assumed that your ideal consumers for chocolates are children's, but you may discover that premise was flawed after premise control measurement reveals that the actually fastest growing consumers are youngsters. So, here we can see the premise control helps to revise or control the strategies effectively. It is important that no longer valid, the strategy may have to be changed. If our strategy is not according to the present context or there is a flaw in the premises on which the strategy was based, it is important that the strategy we should change, and the sooner it is recognized, it should be rejected because the strategy can be adjusted to reflect the reality. Now coming to next type of control, that is special alert control. The special alert control is like sometimes company can go through something which is unexpected and it can impact the business in negative way. So we can say that special alert control is the rigorous and rapid assessment of organization's strategy because of occurrence of immediate unforeseen event. The example we can take of such event is acquisition of company's competitor by an outsider or some type of unexpected attacks or terror attacks or such type of event which impacts the company in negative way. So the special alert control will help the company to respond to this type of event. The company must form crisis teams to handle its initial response to such unforeseen events. These events can trigger an immediate and intense reassessment of the firm's strategy. Now coming to the strategic surveillance control, the basic idea behind this type of strategic surveillance control is that some form of general monitoring of multiple information sources should be encouraged. The intention being the opportunity to uncover important as well as unanticipated information. The strategic surveillance is designed to observe a wide range of events within and outside the organization that are likely to affect the tract of organization strategy. This surveillance is based on the idea that one can uncover important as well as unanticipated information while using the different kind of information sources. The sources which we include are trade magazines, journals and trade conferences, conversations and observations. Now we will be discussing the last type of control, which is implementation control. The implementation control depicts, like we can say, whenever we begin to implement a business strategy, we use implementation control measures to assess whether our plan needs adjustment or not. The common types of implementation control include the setting performance standards, actual performance measurement, and analyzing the reasons why your staff failed to meet specific performance standards. So, implementation control also include things such as budget schedules and milestones that company is trying to achieve. The implementation control is implementing a strategy that takes place as a series of steps, activities, investments and acts that occur over a lengthy period. As a manager, one will mobilize resources, carry out special projects and employ or reassign the staff. So, implementation control must be carried out as events unfold. The implementation control is of two types. One is strategic thrust or projects and milestone reviews. So, dear students, I end up my lecture with all these types of control. Hope so now you are able to understand the concept of strategic evaluation and control, as well as process of strategic control and types of strategic control. Thank you very much.